Well, hello. It is so nice to see you. It's Sunday, it's December 27th. We've just had Christmas Eve and Christmas, and I hope that you had a wonderful time, and that someone read you the Christmas story, or you watched my little sermons, and that you thought about how wonderful it is that God loves you so much that Jesus came to take care of you, to forgive you, and one day bring you home to be with Him forever. In case you're wondering where I am, this is one of the churches where I'm the pastor. I know that my American friends know this, but my Brazilian friends, this is Nelsonville Church. This is a church that has been around for more than 130 years. It's a place that's just filled with history and tradition of God's faithfulness. You can see above the doors, there's Norwegian writing above the doors, that when the people built this church, they had to pick a couple of Bible verses that would help them remember who they were. And so that one up there, if you say it in English, is "Heaven and earth may pass away, but my word will live, will exist, will stay forever." Right? That comes from Luke 21, verse 33, if you want to look it up. And over on the other side there, it says, "The one that believes and is baptized will be saved. The one who does not believe is already condemned." And of course, above me, there's a picture of Jesus. That's Him praying on the night before He was crucified in the Garden of Gethsemane. And then here, of course, we have our Advent candles. And you remember what that's about, that they count down the 4 weeks to Christmas. And because we have passed Christmas now, the Christ candle is lit. We remember that Jesus is with us in the world and that He's never, ever, ever going to let us go. So that's what you need to know about where we are and what's going on. And I do want to welcome you here. This is a precious place to me. And I'm glad that we can be together and talk about these things. We're continuing our story about Moses and Israel coming out of Egypt, headed toward the Promised Land, right? And you remember that in our last couple of lessons, that God provided water for them in the desert and food for them in the wilderness, that quail would come flying into the camp so that people could have meat, and that every morning there was something called manna on the ground, food for Israel to eat. That God continued to lead them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. God was with them in the wilderness, and God was taking them to His holy mountain where He could give them the law. And the plan was that from there, they would go right back to Canaan. They would go right into the Promised Land. It doesn't work out like that. But that was the big plan. So anyway, the people are traveling, they're following the pillar of cloud, they're following the pillar of fire, and they got to a place called Rephidim. And at Rephidim, the cloud stopped and the people knew that they could camp for a while. Then they looked around and it was a nice enough place, but there was no water. And they forgot that God had just provided water for them, and they got crabby. And they called out against Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die? We're going to die. We're so thirsty. What's wrong with you, Moses? We should have stayed in Egypt." And Moses couldn't believe his ears. He couldn't believe what he was hearing from these people. He was so sad and so mad. And he went to God and he said, "What's going on? These people are so mad, they're going to stone me." And God said, "Don't worry, grab your rod." You remember Moses' rod, right? The one that could turn into a snake, the one that he held over the Nile and it turned to blood, the one that he held out over the Red Sea and the waters parted. You remember that, right? It's not a magic stick. You understand that. It's something for people to look at. It's something for people to consider as they remember that God's doing all those things. So God says to Moses, "Get some of the elders of the people, some of the grandmas, some of the grandpas, right, and go to the base of this little mountain where we are." Or it was a little mountain called Mount Horeb, right? Go to the base of it and strike the mountainside with your rod. Water will come out, and everyone should relax a little bit. So Moses did that. He got some of the elders of the people and he went to Mount Horeb with his rod and he smacked the side of the mountain with the rod and water came out and the people were so happy. They had enough to drink, their animals had enough to drink, but there was someone who wasn't happy. Moses wasn't happy, and he scolded them. What's wrong with you people? God takes care of you every day. You have full bellies. He took you out of slavery. He's never going to let you go. Just look, there's a pillar of cloud, there's a pillar of fire every night. Stop complaining. But they didn't. The other thing that you need to know about Rephidim is that there were people who already were there. It was a group of people called the Amalekites, and the Amalekites were not thrilled to have all of these other people on their land, and so they attacked the Israelites and tried to steal a bunch of their stuff. So Moses got a young man named Joshua, and he said, you put together some fighting men, and tomorrow you go out and fight the Amalekites. And me, I'm going to go up on top of that hill up there, and I'm going to be there holding up the rod of God, and he will certainly be with us, and he'll certainly give us victory. And Joshua thought that was a great idea, so he put together some young warriors, and the next morning Moses went up the hill, and Joshua and his men attacked the Amalekites. And as long as Moses stood there with his rod up, things went great. But you remember, Moses is kind of an old dude. He's more than 80 years old at this point, and he got tired. And when his arms got tired and he didn't hold up the rod anymore, the battle would turn and the Amalekites would start to win. And then he'd see that and he'd hold the rod up again, and Israel would again start to win, and the battle would go in their favor. And he did this for a while, and finally a couple of his helpers, right? Aaron and a guy named Hur, not H-E-R, like a girl, H-U-R, Hur, two men, they got a big rock, and they sat Moses on the big rock, and they stood on either side of him, holding up his arms with the rod in his hands. And Israel won. Again, it's not a magic stick, but God is teaching this people that he is with them, that he's going to take care of them. He didn't want them to just win a battle and think, oh, we're so strong. He wanted them to know that they were winning the battle because he was with them, because they could see Moses' rod and remember all the things had done in and through Moses when he was holding that. God wanted the people to see that the water they got came from him. It wasn't just that Moses found a spring. It wasn't that they got lucky. It's that God made water come from the side of a mountain. It's that God gave them a victory in battle. It's that God opened the Red Sea. God brought the plagues on Egypt when Pharaoh wouldn't let them go. God had a plan and a purpose for them. So that's where we are. We got people with full bellies and lots to drink who've just won a big victory out in the wilderness, still complain an awful lot, still frustrate God and Moses an awful lot, and they're learning that God is with them and that God will take care of them. That's probably a good place to stop. I am delighted to see you. I hope you are well. Most of you are probably on some sort of break from school. I hope you use this time to relax and to read and to laugh and to play. Good days are coming. And the God who got Israel out of slavery in Egypt has a plan for you and is going to take care of you. Thanks for spending the time with me. I am so incredibly grateful. As always, if you want to send me pictures, it fills me with joy. I hope you're well. You take care. Bye-bye.